What are you really loving that people or brands are doing where you're like, this is the future, this is truly intelligent luxury?
Luxury is now about really having a unique point of view, voice, and story for the world.
You think that AI is helping us be more creative?
Absolutely, and I speak about this all the time. It's so funny because a lot of people think, oh my God, it's stripping us of our humanity. We're not gonna connect anymore because of AI. I actually think it's the opposite, meaning people are starting to care about how they actually present. Forget the words they have in their mouth. That's exciting to me. We spend so much time worrying about the future of AI. Take some of that worry and think about what's going on right now. If you have these connections that much more solidified and deepened, you can take on the issues of AI.
That is a mouthful. Like, that is something that I want to take away. You know, I'm sitting here and thinking like, okay, well, what is next? What is next? But you're right, like, what is today?
What is today?
Hi, this is Asha Saxena. I'm a tech entrepreneur, professor at Columbia University, a best-selling author for The AI Factor and The Digital Human Advantage.
I'm Julie Faupel, CEO and founder of Realm Global, a community for the most elite real estate professionals in the world.
So this podcast is going to touch upon artificial intelligence and luxury. But most importantly, it's going to talk about how it's redefining luxury in today's day and age.
I'm so excited to learn more about how we protect our most precious assets, our relationships, using technology and artificial intelligence.
Really think about the culture and, most importantly, the human potential. I welcome you all to continue listening and participating. Welcome to Intelligent Luxury.
Abigail Posner, welcome to Intelligent Luxury. Thank you for being part of this incredible inaugural podcast.
Wow, inaugural. I am so honored to be here, especially now knowing that it's an inaugural podcast. And anything with you, I will do, anything. And of course, I love talking about luxury and insights and technology, so this is my happy place.
I mean, you're an anthropologist who has built her career in data. And so you're kind of like the perfect subject to talk about where luxury has been and what effects it's had kind of on humanity, but then also kind of where it's going and this juxtaposition of data and AI and shaping the future of luxury.
Yes. Well, I've always been attracted to luxury, and not because, oh, it's fancy and there's like beautiful things. I love that too.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in aesthetics and beauty and all that kind of stuff. But because of what luxury represents, which is that aspiration. And I'm all about human beings. I've spent as you said, I've spent my career trying to understand human beings, whether that's through the lens of anthropology, then as a brand strategist, then at Google to understand how people respond to and relate to technology, and then also when it comes to culture. And so luxury is that kind of ultimate expression of what people want and need and desire. It's been so fascinating for me to study it throughout the years. And what's going on right now is super interesting, right? Because all of a sudden you have changes in the marketplace, right? Because of geopolitical changes, because of economic changes and so forth. But then you have this new thing called AI, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we've had technology and we've always been able to learn more, understand what human beings want and need, and how to express that in terms of the experiences we offer through data. But now we have something that not only gives us a deeper understanding of human beings and their aspirations and their needs, and in some cases, maybe the needs they didn't even realize they have, but also it allows us to create experiences, create ideas that maybe we didn't feel like we had the know-how to do. And that's what I'm super excited about AI. It's not just a data source anymore, right? It's reliant on us human beings and our understanding of people and our understanding of the fundamentals of luxury and all that stuff. But it's an added layer of being a creative partner for us.
Interesting. So you think that AI is helping us be more creative?
Absolutely, and I speak about this all the time. People tend to think, oh, AI is going to be that facilitator to then take away all the rote stuff, and absolutely. But what's really great about that is that if it's taking away the rote stuff, think about how much more headspace you have, right? brain power you have to focus on creativity and focus on ideas. And I don't mean creativity necessarily that, some people interpret that as, oh, I paint or I draw or whatever. Yeah, I mean, that's a manifestation, but really it's about coming up with new ideas. It's coming up with new solutions, right? So now, okay, it's taking over the rote stuff so I can focus my head and my energies on that which is uniquely human, which is being creative. But then it also serves as an added layer to enhance that creativity. So what do I mean by that? Well, because of all of the information we have, we can now dive so much deeper and really get to that nuance of people. One of the things I think is so powerful about a great luxury maestro like yourself, right? Someone in the luxury real estate industry or someone in the luxury jewelry industry, is they really understand the nuances of the people they're serving. But imagine if you could get even more nuanceical, right? As opposed to just having kind of a blanket understanding of human beings. Well, everybody likes, orange today, so I'm going to serve up orange. No. We know that our customer has a very particular need, right? So now we have this source to give us even that much more insight and understanding about that nuance. And then what's the most exciting to me is that what is well known about AI, and in fact, HBR came out with it when it came out with its first article around the creative capabilities of generative AI back in 2023, the first thing it pointed out was that AI can make connections among seemingly disconnected, unrelated notions or concepts. That is the heart of creativity. Creativity at its core is connecting unlikely things like Star Wars, right? So sci-fi meets Greek tragedy. Two different worlds coming together.
Brilliant.
Rent the Runway, right? It's like department store, we could relate to that. Department store shopping meets online meal reservation system. It's always making these combinations. Well, AI can help us do that. You just have to say, okay, I have input here, input there, maybe seemingly crazy input here. What could it serve up that will allow me to service, to offer an experience that's unique, different to my luxury customer that I could never before?
That's brilliant and so exciting. Nuance is a very human sense, know, and there isn't, AI doesn't have intuition, can't really, contextualize things. But what you're saying is that you can actually use that to then create that context.
See, before we would say, okay, this is too weird. How do I combine the luxury car industry? What's going on right now? What's at the cusp of the luxury car industry meets experiences, meets kind of the really most topical need right now with luxury customers. And then put that in and see what happens. Mm-hmm. And then you tease it back and forth. And the best part, I actually think the best part of AI is then the questions they put below. Because then they're like, would you like me to try this or that? And you're like, actually, yes.
I didn't even think of that.
Ask me more questions, right? And then you go back and forth and you tease it and you pull it and you push it and you find some ideas, right? And so to me, this is just the beginning. To your point, it's a very human experience to understand what other human beings really want and need. And it requires a lot of experience and a lot of understanding and EQ, but that doesn't mean you can't have a partner like AI to help really push that and maybe push some of the crazy ideas that you have. And I think also what I'm seeing with luxury now, it goes through phases, right? We've seen kind of the decades of change. And of course, different markets, different countries are at different points of those changes. Went from brands and, just conspicuous consumption to then more experiential, then to more storytelling. And now what I've seen is it's very much about the individual showcasing their uniqueness and individuality. Okay, so talk about nuance.
Yeah.
You're going to really have to craft something that serves that person so uniquely so they can show their and express their uniqueness and maybe in ways they never thought possible.
Well, so as a marketer, so then you've got now you want to use the art of nuance marketing yourself, kind of, especially when you're kind of a trusted advisor in a luxury space, but then you're also kind of you have to consider your audience.
Absolutely. And so imagine if I have my AI of choice, if it's Claude or Gemini or you choose, right? But you say, okay, this is how I approach the world as a luxury expert, right? In real estate or whatever field you're in. And this is how I want to approach the space. And then here's what I know about my customer and how he or she wants to live their ultimate life. And it's a combination of the two, right? Because you don't want to feel like also what you're doing is exactly what everybody else is doing either, right? Everybody's going to have access to these AI tools. Now, if you don't use them, shame on you. But if you do use them, everyone's going to have access to them. So you don't just want to spit out the same information or the same experiences or the same ideas for your customer, right? It has to be a kind of combination, just like any great brand wants to service its customer, but it also has its own unique point of view as to how it sees the world.
Interesting.
And so as someone who's in the service industry, you have a unique position in the world. So AI allows you to express that uniqueness plus that nuanced, deep understanding of the customer, and you come to something together.
So Abby, you have the benefit of seeing the world through this incredible nuanced lens. What do you see out there? Like, what are you really loving that people or brands are doing that where you're like, this is the future. This is truly intelligent luxury?
Well, you know, it all depends on how you interpret luxury, right? But as I said, I really think luxury is now about really having a unique point of view and voice and story for the world. And so what that means is because of AI and because of all of the benefits it gives you from a efficiency standpoint, right? If you're a brand, even if you're a little mom and pop brand, you can do things that maybe only the big spenders could do, maybe only the big luxury spenders could do. But now, because AI is covering so much of that, you don't have to do a shoot now necessarily in Argentina with a group of 10 for a month, right? You can do it through some of the tools like 𝑉O, or you don't have to use a whole research department to dig into your customer. So because of all those efficiencies and because of the capabilities that AI brings you to be creative, now a smaller player can feel like a big luxury player in the marketplace. So as long as you have a unique, differentiating, and provocative and meaningful point of view. So I think what's going to happen is you're going to have more luxury players, and those guys or gals who just got away with, through heft, having the voice and having the story, they're going to have to actually figure themselves out, but they're not going to be the only ones in the marketplace.
So the small can be kind of mighty.
Exactly. Absolutely. Love how you said that.
Well, it's so exciting because I think it's a time of great transformation,
Yes.
you know, and you have the benefit of kind of informing a lot of where this journey is going. You know, I mean, when we met, you were speaking at Lincoln Center,
Right.
I mean, in front of thousands of people. And I was like, this girl has a very specific point of view. And you started to influence how I was thinking about things. You have this platform and this voice that is influencing, I mean, at this point, hundreds of thousands, millions of people, and your voice just keeps getting bigger. I mean, what is your definition of the future of luxury?
You know, I'm glad you brought that up because there is a leitmotif, I think, in everything that I've done and all my weird, like, excursions in my life, which is human beings are amazing. Human beings are so interesting. Human beings are so, we said, nuanced, right? Because even that speech I gave at Lincoln Center was about humanizing digital. And so what's awesome about AI too is, it's so funny because a lot of people think, oh my God, it's stripping us of our humanity. We're not going to connect anymore because of AI. I actually think it's the opposite. Now, as I said, we have this headspace and actually we have this urgency to go back and say, who are we as human beings? Maybe it's not all for the best reasons that we're asking that question, but I'm glad they're asking that question. Here's an example. From 2020 to 2025, I did just a quick analysis in terms of content created, so articles, podcasts, videos, all about executive presence. Because that's just a microcosm of a bigger kind of industry around how we show up as human beings, our presence, how we talk, whether we lean back or lean forward, right? Which I think has been totally put on the wayside because we've been so into our neocortex for so long. We've been living in the information age, and it was our brains that mattered. But the fact is, it's this holistic, full body experience that creates that sense of influence and impact and connection. And so what I saw was between 2020 and 2025, now granted, we all have more technology so we can create more content, but still, over 1,000% change. I think it was like 1,100% change, meaning people are starting to care about how they actually present. Forget the words they have in their mouth. That's exciting to me. That's saying there's going to be a return to this humanness that we've had to sort of put on the wayside.
Interesting.
So that's going to be, to me, the future of technology, or the future of AI and luxury, is going to be such that we return to our humanness and really try to figure out who we are and what is the story we want to share and how we're going to be, really influencing the world with our unique human-based insights, ideas, and just how we show up.
So it's, okay, so you brought up kind of this whole luxury evolution, which is so fascinating to me because I'm like, when you think about our parents or our grandparents, it was like, I have a designer handbag, that's luxury. I drive a luxury car, that's luxury. And then it started to be like, well, okay, so then handbags got knocked off, or you could buy a Rolex on Canal Street or whatever. And and then it turned into, okay, experiences are luxury. And then social media came out and you're like, well, so people were painting that picture of themselves, but was that their Ferrari, or was it the Ferrari that was just parked on the street, right? So again, knockoff lifestyle.
Right.
And then now you've got AI, but then you have things like deep fakes and what, and you just talked about like the values. What you're saying is it's enabling this return to authenticity, but how do you balance those things?
Well, I think it's a return to authenticity, but also a unique point of view. So not just, okay, I am who I am. Yes, great. And in fact, I do see so much of a shift towards authenticity in so many ways. First, with the generation, my kids' generation, for example, they see through all this stuff. They don't want to see that anymore. And by the way, if everything's perfect, that's not interesting, right? If everybody's,
let's hope not. Yeah.
I know. They're going to want real. They're going to want real. They're going to want human. In fact, I just did a podcast the other day all about how, everything is going to be AI-ified now. And so you can have robots have sex with you or whatever. But it's like, do you really want to have a robot with the most, have sex with the most perfect thing? You don't. So there's going to be a return to that. But I actually think it's more than that. I think it's going to be a heightened desire to stand out with what you really think is important, what you really believe in, what you're going to contribute to the world, right? And so I think that luxury is going to be an articulation of your unique story, purpose, and literally like idea that you're gonna take forward. So how do you reflect that? Now you can reflect it in many different, you can still reflect it with things. I'm a big believer in things. I don't think we should get away with,
I like things too.
I mean, they're pretty, right? And things are expressive. And so I think all of that's gonna be important, but not because of the price tag or because your neighbor had it, but because it says something about you and the story you're trying to express and the movement you're trying to push forward into this world.
I want to unpack that a little bit more because it's like the number one country song in America right now is an AI generated artist.
I did not know that.
Yes, yeah, and so it made me think about where I was like, I listened to it. It's a great song. It's wonderful, but it was produced in less than a day, a couple of hours. No artist, you think about kind of all of the things that go into a regular production, and it dispenses with a lot of that.
Yeah.
But then I think about an artist, like Jelly Roll, who won a Grammy last night, right? And
he's raw and real.
And I love that.
Yeah.
And so then what happens, Abby? Does it become commoditized? Like, okay, so anybody can kind of experience the music.
Yeah.
But then the story, like you're saying, his story is what draws me to him. And so does that become more valuable or less valuable?
I think story can be interpreted in many different ways. So there's a backstory, yes, but By the way, you can 𝗂𝗍𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂 a backstory, right? But I'll never forget this conversation I had on my podcast with 𝗀𝗵𝗄𝗃𝗃. 𝗀𝗵𝗄𝗃𝗃 is a Hall of Famer, country music songwriter. And he got Garth Brooks.
Oh, yeah.
Garth Brooks, one of the biggest of all time.
Yes.
Right? Okay. So Garth Brooks, no one would listen to him. See you later, thank you very much, no. And it was only when he was in some skanky bar that was kind of smelly and full of people, and he played a song, and it wasn't perfect. It was raw, it was real, and it was only there where a studio executive heard him and felt that connection and said, okay, I'm signing you, right? And so what we concluded from that conversation is that, yeah, everything's gonna be perfect now. Everything's gonna be perfect, and it's gonna be boring. So what is your imperfection / unique take?
Yeah.
That AI can't, that's why we still love live music.
Yeah.
That's why we like plays, because it's real. People screw up.
Well, and so then does that become something that then is more rarefied, and it's a more rarefied
I think
air?
so.
And so then that becomes where you go back to, okay, you're making the point, for me, like authenticity and kind of that rawness, those imperfections actually become kind of perfect in rarefied air.
Absolutely, especially when it can also add value to others, right? So if you're just imperfect and you smell bad and you take up space, yeah, I mean,
I'm not interested.
Right,
that's
right.
not a luxury. That's not a luxury.
Right, that's not really adding much value. In fact, it's detracting. But if you're different, and by the way, even by virtue of being different, you're adding some value to the space, to the world, right? Because you're saying it's okay, we can all be different. It's finding your unique story, your unique point of view, and then figuring out how can I make it a service to others. Then you have something that I think is the ultimate luxury. And we're going to be talking in a few months about how to find that within yourself and how AI can actually help facilitate that process. But it starts with self-awareness.
That it is. You're going to be our keynote at the Realm Global Collective, which is so exciting. But one of the things that I think is so exciting, and one of the things that when we became friends all those years ago, was the fact that you do have this very different perspective around how technology and humanity interact. And people are really afraid of it, more so now than ever.
Absolutely.
How do you counsel them through that?
Right. Well, it's probably my crutch, actually. No, seriously. Because I entered into all these different worlds throughout my life and was like, oh boy, do I have imposter syndrome? Like, I don't know how to answer this question. So what am I going to do? I'm going to dip into my bag of goodies that I learned along the way and just see and hope that works. And so my bag of goodies for so long was, well, if I don't really know how to answer this, let's go back to just the fundamentals of human beings. Let's study them, let's talk to them, let's understand them. Because once you understand that, then you have the answer for everything, right? So if you're trying to sell a product, you're trying to solve a problem, well, who are you solving it for? Who are you selling the product to? Who are you trying to convince that your idea is good? All those are people with needs and ways of interpreting the world and kind of what excites them. If you understand that, then you can do all those things. You can answer all those questions. So I've always felt like as long as you understand human beings, first of all, you have to appreciate them. You have to believe that they are ingenious, and I do see that with all the research I do, and then really try to connect with them. Then you can solve for all these things. Now, in terms of the fear around technology, I get it, right? Because throughout time, we human beings, it's how we're wired. We have looked for the next technological innovation. It's just the way it is, whether it's discovering fire, metallurgy, the printing press, toilets. I mean, these are amazing technological feats. Now, with every technological feat comes downsides. Like fire is great, keeps you warm, cooks your food, which by the way, changed our entire physiology. You can, stay warm, all that stuff, but it also can cause irreparable damage, right? Look what happened in Malibu. Now, does that mean that we should give up on the technology? No, you have to understand where the issues can lie and how to navigate through that. So I think with AI, it's the same thing. It's rapidly changing every single day. People are always asking me about something else. I'm like, I gotta look that up. I don't know, right? But I do think if we come in with a sense of intentionality that like, we're doing this together as human beings so that we can be better human beings. Not so that we can sell more products, not that we can, come up with next cool technology and beat the other guy. But if we come at this as we're a community of human beings and we want to use this to our best advantage, I think we'll be okay. We're always gonna have to put the safeguards in, always. Cybersecurity is a huge industry for a reason, right? There's always the bad players, but for the most part, the human species has figured out a way to progress positively.
That's so interesting because the focus is always on the valuations of these companies
Yes.
and on the and really it's a lot of the data that they're mining and all the information, but it's also what you're saying is that the value is because it's making us more human.
I hope so. I hope so. From your mouth to God's ears. But whether they see it or not, I don't know. But what's interesting about all my research in the past that I've done, all the humanizing digital research I've done, is that it's amazing what human beings do when they take technology from what originally was intended for and turn it into something that much more meaningful. We tend to do that. We do it with our phones. We do it with social media. We do it with videos. There was, a phone was this computer that you walked around with.
That's right, the size of your shoe.
Right, and it's cool because you could, look up things, you could take pictures. But what it helped us do as human beings was enhance our humanity. And I don't think the engineers even realized that that's what they were doing. Mm-hmm. But that's because that's what we do. Ultimately, human beings, and you wouldn't be an anthropologist if you didn't think this way, right? Ultimately, what human beings want to do is they want to progress. That's what they want to do. So they will take something and they will try to make it better for them, whatever that means. And there was one story, back from our days when you saw me at the Met, and I still talk about this. Like our phone, it's this little computer. But it's also a way for us to do something that is fundamentally human called placemaking, which is an anthropological term. Placemaking is basically the notion of really connecting with the physical things that surround you because they ground you. They remind you of who you are, right? Whether that's going to the local haunt, decorating your home with beautiful things, all those physical things matter, even though we live in a highly virtual world. Well, so then you're like, okay, well, how does this phone have to do with placemaking? And I give this example of, I used to walk to through Hell's Kitchen on my way to the office. And if you've ever been through Hell's Kitchen in New York City, it's like restaurant after restaurant after, it's wallpaper. You just walk, with me, I had my earphones in and, I'm checking emails. But imagine this. I stop at a stoplight and I see a restaurant I hadn't seen before. Now, if I didn't have my phone, I'd just go, restaurant. But I have a second. I go onto my phone. I can do some research on it. Oh, it's a new restaurant. Oh, it's a new chef. Oh, then I look at reviews on Yelp. Oh, this is a great place to go, especially for lunch. That's it. I'm going to cancel my meeting. I then text my assistant. I say, I'm canceling the meetings for the afternoon. I'm going to lunch. Okay, get in there. I know what to order thanks to all the reviews. I get this beautiful dish. And so what do? I take a picture of it and I share it with my whole network. And of course, I get responses, texts on Instagram, whatever, saying, oh my gosh, I love that restaurant. That's where my husband proposed to me. So all of a sudden, I have this elevated experience in this restaurant. I have now placemaked. I have now created a real sense of place thanks to this little phone. Something I normally would have just passed by, right? Is that what the engineers expected when they created this thing? No, but that's what human beings do. And that's just one example of how we take this technology. And yes, some people use it for bad stuff, but we actually tend to use it in ways to elevate us.
Oh my gosh, I love that because I think a lot of, and of course I'm looking at everything through like the luxury real estate lens and thinking about like, when you think about placemakers or you think about community builders, because I think that's the other thing that people are really craving.
Yes.
That this can enable.
Yes. As long as we are intentional about it, we are connected much less than we used to be. We're having less sex. We're having fewer boyfriends and girlfriends. We're not, going bowling anymore. We're not going to church anymore. And my argument was, in the newsletter, is we spend so much time worrying about the future of AI. Take some of that worry and think about what's going on right now. Because if you don't have these connections solidified, you should be worried about AI. But if you have these connections that much more solidified and deepened, you can take on the issues of AI. and then use it to just bolster that community feeling. So there's a lot of work to be done, not to worry about the future, to worry about it now, and then you'll be okay. You'll set yourself up for an okay future, a better future.
That is a mouthful. Like that's something that I want to take away, because I think a lot of it I'm sitting here and thinking like, okay, well, what is next? What is next? But you're right. Like, what is today?
What is today? And honestly, as I said before, there's going to be a new tool 5 minutes from now. Now, whether it's good or not, I can't tell you. But what is the driving force of what, compels me is to just make our lives better and reconnect us to our sense of humanness. And I think if we do that, we will all be better off. Because it starts with understanding ourselves and loving ourselves. And not to sound like a self-help guru, but it's true. It's like if we all just loved ourselves a little bit better, we'd be less judgmental of everybody else. And then if we're less judgmental of everybody else, think of all the connections we can make. Think of all the business we can do. That's what we need to focus on.
Yeah.
And then the tools will allow us to elevate that and scale that and enhance that. But if we're not at one with ourselves or with others, we're going to use the tools for bad stuff. Yeah. That's what you should worry about.
That's true. Because you stop being, there's that self-preservation, or you kind of go into that fight or flight mode, and you're just like.
Because if you're the only one, you're going to try to hold on and take care of yourself. But if you believe that, no, we're all in this together, you will use those tools in a way to support you, not destroy you. I believe.
That's well said. So as we wrap up this episode, this is just the beginning of our conversation, because we have Asha to talk to, yes. And we have the Global Collective coming up, as you reminded me, in less than 2 months, which is giving me a little bit of anxiety. But what are you looking forward to? I mean, things seem to be changing so fast, but what is the message that you're going to kind of give to all of us as we continue to community build together?
Well, obviously to understand who we are and how amazing we are, and to figure out ways to really push that out, to enhance that. So whether that means coming up with unique ideas, connecting with people in ways you haven't before, really opening yourselves up to all the possibilities and potential that we could all have. I think we are so limited in what we offer the world, what we offer ourselves and what we offer others. We kind of been shrink-wrapped into these categories, into these spaces, into these roles. If we expanded ourselves and saw ourselves for all the different things we can do and combine and offer the world, wow, like we will be so much more happy with ourselves. We'll have greater impact. It'll reverberate, and everyone will do it together. And so you're just going to have this, enhanced greater growth of idea and progress and impact. And at the end of the day, business will grow. I mean, if you don't have all those ideas, think about the Renaissance, right? Why was the Renaissance so successful? You had all these people coming from different worlds, sharing thoughts, sharing ideas to create something bigger and better. And that changed everything. So that's a long-winded way of saying I am super excited about people really recognizing who they are as human beings in all those facets and embracing them, combining them, using the tools around them to make it even better and stronger, and then just getting out of the shrink-wrap self, expanding and really influencing the rest of the world around us.
Well, Abby Posner, I'm so grateful for you for joining us and for your friendship and for that expansiveness mindset and kind of the abundance, not only in your abundant personality, but the abundance in your intellect and in your experience that you are willing to share with the world. I mean, it's such a gift. So thank you for being a part of this intelligent luxury discussion and the very beginning.
Thank you. I'm so honored. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Intelligent Luxury. Asha and I are delighted to continue on this journey with you as we continue to unpack the soul of the transaction and the intelligence of the technology.
At its best, luxury is intentional. So are the ideas you choose to engage with. If this episode inspires you or informs you, continue watching, continue listening, continue learning, and be on the path of growth. Thank you for listening. This is Intelligent Luxury.